two of the absolute most advanced ships of their entire era, sailing proudly away from England, heading straight into the unforgiving, freezing white expanse of the Arctic, and they are never seen again. Today, we're unpacking the 160-year Arctic mystery of the Franklin expedition. It is honestly one of history's darkest, most enduring puzzles, and we're going to look at exactly how this nightmare unfolded, and the frankly incredible way it was finally pieced together. 129. That isn't just a number, that's the massive human scale of this tragedy. 129 men sailed into those freezing waters, and they were equipped with the absolute best technology the British Empire had to offer at the time. Their goal? They were supposed to conquer the Northwest Passage, which was this legendary, almost mythical sea route connecting the Atlantic right to the Pacific. And then, zero. Absolutely zero survivors returned home. Not a single man made it back. No rescue ship ever found them. For years, the British public and the Navy had absolutely no idea where this massive, state-of-the-art expedition had vanished to. I mean, it was literally as if the ice had just opened up and swallowed them whole. It took over 160 years to finally locate the wrecks of these two colossal ships. Think about that. 160 years of searching, theorizing, and, well, failing. But what's truly mind-blowing about this whole timeline is that the final discovery wasn't made by just, blindly blanketing the ocean with modern sonar. No, it hinged on a clue that was there all along. Specifically, the absolutely crucial role of Inuit oral history. But we're going to get to that incredible revelation in just a moment. Section 1. The perfect expedition, trapped in the ice. So, to really understand the sheer scale of Sir John Franklin's mission, we need to jump back to 1845. And things went from highly optimistic to absolutely terrifying incredibly fast. On May 19th, they depart England with massive fanfare. By the time they hit Greenland later that year, 5 men actually leave the voyage, which, as it turns out, was a stroke of incredible luck for them. The remaining 129 push further north. Then, in September 1846, the Arctic basically snaps its jaws shut. The sea freezes entirely around them at King William Island. Now, it's totally crucial to understand the gear they had on board to fight this environment. These weren't some fragile little wooden rowboats. The HMS Erebus and the HMS Terror were heavily reinforced naval warships packed with cutting-edge 1845 technology. We're talking steam engines, internal heating systems, extensive scientific equipment, enough canned provisions to last them for years, and stockpiles of weapons and ammunition. They really thought they had engineered their way out of any conceivable danger. But, well, nature had other plans. Imagine the sheer terrifying reality of their situation. Surrounded by absolutely nothing but ice. There are no towns, no roads, no rescue coming, and there's definitely no way to simply turn these massive ships around. The isolation and the claustrophobia must have been just unbearable. They waited for the spring thaw, the seasons changed, winter came again, and the ships just stayed permanently, brutally frozen in place for over a year. And that brings us to probably the most chilling piece of evidence ever recovered from the ice. It's just a single note, scribbled right on the margins of a standard naval form, plainly stating, Sir John Franklin died, and then, devastatingly, the ships were deserted on 22nd April 1848. The commander was dead, the crew was completely out of time, out of hope, and they made the tragic, really desperate decision to leave the perceived safety of those iron-reinforced hulls and just walk south. And this impossible choice led to what we now call the Death March, a totally desperate, doomed journey south on foot. The surviving, completely exhausted crew actually dragged heavy wooden boats across a jagged, frozen landscape. It's a terrifying reminder of how fast, highly organized naval discipline can collapse into a primal fight just to survive. Modern archaeological evidence found along their route later pointed to the absolute darkest corners of human endurance: starvation, disease, and, undeniably, cannibalism. Section 2. Searching for the wrecks. A clash of knowledge. So, you've got to ask yourself, why did it take over a century and a half to find these massive ships? Well, it really comes down to a tragic clash of knowledge. For decades, the 19th century British search parties largely ignored local expertise. They were just blindly scouring empty coastlines and utterly failing. Meanwhile, the local Inuit communities actually held incredibly accurate regional knowledge. They had literally observed these desperate men walking south. They knew exactly where the ships ended up. But Victorian England largely dismissed this testimony when it was first recorded by explorer John Ray all the way back in 1854. They simply wouldn't listen. Section 3. The clue that was there all along. Now, this is where the major 21st century breakthrough happens. Modern underwater archaeologists finally did what the 19th century explorers flat out refused to do. They actively listened to and mapped out Inuit oral histories. In September 2014, based directly on those stories, they investigated a remote island and actually discovered a rusted fitting and a wooden plug, literal pieces of a British naval ship. By immediately shifting their high-tech sonar to this new area, the technology revealed the HMS Erebus, sitting remarkably upright on the seafloor. They finally succeeded by combining generational Inuit memory with modern science. It's a total game changer. But while the Erebus was found in 2014, her sister ship, the HMS Terror, was still completely unaccounted for. It took another 2 full years until September 2016 for the search to be redirected again. And why did they redirect? Because of a crucial, entirely unexpected tip from an Inuit man named Sami Kogvik. Researchers actually listened to a story, they moved the boat, and boom, the HMS Terror is found sitting in Terror Bay. It's such a powerful lesson in how combining modern technology with generational indigenous memory truly unlocks history. Section 4. An unfinished mystery.
So while the physical ships, the metal hulls, the wood, the ship spells have finally been found, the human element of the story remains totally shrouded in the dark Arctic cold. We know exactly where the ships ended up, but what actually happened to the men who walked south? Why did such a well equipped expedition collapse so completely? The precise fate of those men and their final agonizing months is a really dark secret that is still buried out there beneath the ice and snow. 129 men entered the Arctic. Their ships were found a staggering 170 years later. But the mystery isn't dead. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it leaves you questioning just how much history is still out there, quietly waiting for us to finally listen.